Part 138. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1371. Chapter 1371. She was questioned by everyone. This is what someone gave me. Then who do you think sent it? Tell us and we'll listen. Yes, it's Yezhiruo. Yezhiruo. When Zhao Fang heard the name, she stared closely into Li Paner's eyes for a few seconds, and then laughed and laughed. Li Paner, even if you lie, you have to have some basis, okay? Yezhiruo, Zhiruo, the most beautiful female host at the school anniversary today, will give you flowers. I won't believe it even to death. At first hearing what Li Paner said, Zhao Fang didn't believe it, and neither did anyone else. At this time, 3 more classmates came in one after another. They felt that the atmosphere in the dormitory was not quite right, so they asked a few more questions. Zhao Fang and Li Paner were in a stalemate and refused to give in. The other girl who had just witnessed everything told the others about it. After hearing this, everyone else looked at Li Paner with strange eyes. Li Paner's eyes swept around everyone's faces, and she saw doubts, ridicule, and other profound meanings in other people's eyes. In short, no one believed her. This seems to have created a situation where the more are bullying the less. But even though she was angry, she did not dare to argue with her classmates. Because an incident happened a long time ago, and for some reason, she had a conflict with her classmates. At that time, the teacher asked them to call their parents. The classmates' parents arrived quickly, but her parents refused to go no matter what. The teacher thought she was lying and didn't tell her family, and her classmates' parents even came to see her in person. However, the result of that incident was not a reconciliation, but a beating. From then on, she knew that she was not qualified to be willful no matter when or where she was. Even if she had done nothing wrong, she had to be patient and not provoke others. The hands hidden under the loose coat slowly clenched into fists, and the fingers that were so thin that the bones were prominent were tightly squeezed together. She was questioned by everyone, and her eye circles began to turn red. Among them, Zhou Yuqing, who usually plays better with Li Paner, came over in time to change the topic. Paner, you were not in good spirits when you performed just now. Are you feeling better now? Li Paner took a deep breath and listened to what her friend Zhou Yuqing said. I just went to the school's infirmary and I feel better after taking medicine. This statement made his tone much better. Zhou Yuqing asked in surprise, did you buy medicine at this school? Yeah, Li Paner nodded. At this moment, Zhou Yuqing's face showed an incredulous expression. Really or not, where did you get the money? I heard that the things in this are valuable. Li Paner answered the question honestly, while omitting Yezhiruo's name. It was a sister from our school who helped. They don't need money to get the medicine. Zhou Yuqing shook her head after hearing this. What are you talking about? There is no need to pay for medicine. Didn't I get motion sickness when I came here? I was wondering if I could buy some motion sickness medicine before I go back tomorrow, but I went to the infirmary and asked. It costs dozens of dollars for one pill, it's so expensive. Huh, Li Paner blinked and reiterated, that sister used their school's special green card to help me. Students of this school don't need money. That's weird, I thought the infirmary was extorting money from those of us who didn't understand the prices, so I went out to ask students from our school. They said that even for their own students, it was very expensive to see a doctor and get medicine at school. Ah! This time Li Paner didn't know whose words were true and who were false. Zhou Yuqing asked, who told you that you don't need money? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1372. Chapter 1372. If she is kicked out of school, her father will beat her to death. Yes. Who is it? Tell me quickly. It's Yezhiruo. Li Paner asked Yezhiruo's question again. The students were stunned for a while, and then burst into laughter. Lipaner, what's wrong with you today? Are you so envious when you see someone so beautiful? You're actually imagining it. I have told the truth, but you yourself do not believe it. If you want us to believe what you say, you have to provide some evidence. The flowers Zhao Fang took just now are proof they were given to me by Yezhiruo, who took me to see a doctor. Lipaner's expression was extremely serious when she spoke. The students were dubious. It's not that they have to be serious about this matter, but they feel that people like Yezhiruo are like those beautiful and noble people in TV dramas, which are a height that they can't reach. At first glance, it was heard that Lipaner was favored by Yezhiruo, from quiz prizes to flowers, as well as medical treatment and medicine. When these things are put together, don't they tell them how lucky Lipaner is? But Lipaner is the oldest among them, the poorest in the family, and the weakest in health. There will be some imbalance in their hearts. They are obviously much better than Lipaner. Why can't they get those lucky benefits? So they don't want to believe it from the bottom of their hearts. Zhou Yuqing patted Lipaner on the shoulder. Forget it, stop talking, we are all leaving tomorrow anyway. Lipaner understood, but these people still didn't want to believe her. Brother Du Heng and his friends also know about this matter. If you don't believe it, you can ask them when they come back. With an idea, she finally remembered that she had two witnesses. Zhou Yuqing and Zhao Fang looked at each other, both acting as if they didn't hear anything, and turned around to do their own thing. But before Lipaner could reach Du Heng and Fang Yuxi, the two teachers who led the team returned early. Come here to raise an army and investigate the crime. As soon as the teacher returned to the dormitory, everyone calmed down and planned to tidy up and go to bed. At this time, the teacher stood at the middle table and shouted in a stern voice, Lipaner, come out. Lipaner, who was lying on the bed tightly wrapped in quilt because she was afraid of the cold, sat up in confusion. Teacher, what's the matter? Are you going to sit on the bed and talk to me? Come down. Lipaner lifted the quilt and got out of bed, suddenly shivering because it was too cold. She walked closer and saw that the teacher had an angry look on his face. Lipaner suddenly felt a little weak. Teacher, what's wrong? Follow me. After leaving the dormitory, the teacher's face changed. Did you go and report to others that we forced you to hand in the learning machine? No. You lied. No matter what, the teacher directly denied her in one sentence. Lipaner, who was wrongly accused, kept shaking her head. I really didn't. Someone from the school called just now and asked us to return the learning machine to the classmate who originally won the award. Who else could it be if you weren't talking about this? I really don't. I have already said that I am not collecting rewards because I want to take away your prizes. You must understand that this thing belongs to everyone in our elementary school, but you are making a fuss out of it. It is simply an embarrassment to the school. Do you want to be expelled? The last few words hit Lipaner's heart hard. She raised her head suddenly, looked at the teacher and kept begging, Teacher, I really didn't complain. I want to go to school. Please don't let me drop out of school. If she is kicked out of school, her father will beat her to death. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1373. Chapter 1373. Yezhiruo cares about her very much. Yin Simiao returned to his dormitory, lying on the lazy chair and browsing Weibo, having a great time. Yezhiruo pushed open the door and put a pile of thick things in his hand on the table. The voice startled Yin Simiao. Yin Simiao looked up and saw her, and immediately jumped up. Yezhiruo, I didn't expect you to go back to the dormitory today. They are not required to stay in the dormitory. You can choose your home and dormitory freely, as long as you keep records of staying and leaving school. Yin Simiao happily told her about the good things he had done today. Shiruo, I've done everything you asked me to do. Are you given clothes? Here, give it, don't worry while I do the work. That's good, thank you, I will send the money to you then. Okay, it's the same old rules. Logically speaking, those who go to school here are either rich or expensive. They are not short of pocket money, but sometimes, some extra income is not bad. Yin Simiao is a money-loving person. After publicizing his great achievements, Yin Simiao suddenly remembered something. Oh, by the way. Not only did I complete the task you assigned me, but I also did a good deed. What? You know, the teachers in their school were so outrageous that they confiscated Li Painter's learning machine. I originally wanted to tell you, but Li Painter said she didn't want to trouble you anymore. I asked some indirect questions and thought she was good. It's pitiful, I definitely wouldn't let this happen, so I went to the student management office. Hearing Yin Simiao's rambling and finally getting to the point, Yeshiruo, who was collecting information, stopped what he was doing and asked carefully, "What are you doing?" I told the teachers in the management office about that, and asked them to contact Li Painter's teacher to return the things to Li Painter. In school, some students have more say in front of the teacher. Sometimes when Yeshiruo is dealing with things, Yin Simiao will be with her, so the teacher also knows her. Who doesn't know that Yejia is the major shareholder of Egg College? So when Yin Simiao mentioned Yeshiruo's matter, the teacher would give him a little more face and called the primary school teacher on the spot. It's just that this matter is rather tangled, so they just passed on a message. The subsequent results will not matter. Yin Simiao thought that this was enough, so he returned to the dormitory. Yeshiruo understood the whole process of the matter, but her beautiful brows gradually wrinkled. Li Pan'er. The primary school teacher actually asked her to hand over the learning machine, and then was asked by the people from Egg Academy to return it to Li Pan'er. How much of a slap in the face was this? The most difficult thing is not Li Pan'er. Meow, are you free now? Yes, what's wrong? You come with me. Yeshiruo put down what she was doing, took Yin Simiao and walked out quickly. Yin Simiao didn't know why are you in such a hurry? What's wrong? Where are we going? Go to Li Pan'er. What's wrong, isn't she fine? Originally, it was fine, but it wasn't necessarily the case when you ask someone to make that phone call. Although Yeshiruo grew up in good circumstances, she has a neat mind and thinks things through quite clearly. Yeshiruo, why do you care so much about that Li Pan'er? Yin Simiao has been friends with Yeshiruo for several years, but she has never seen Yeshiruo be so interested in a stranger. There is nothing special about that Li Pan'er besides being pitiful. You just come with me. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1374. Chapter 1374. A group of girls in the Ye family. The first thing on the top floor is the temporary dormitory of the primary school, and the door is still open at this time. Yeshiruo stood at the door, raised his hand and knocked. "Excuse me, I'm looking for Li Pan'er." The unique voice and tone immediately attracted everyone's attention. Zhao Fang and Zhou Yuqing were stunned the moment they saw Yeshiruo. Are you the host Yeshiruo from before? Yes. Wow, why are you here? I have something to ask Li Pan'er, please shout. Before she finished saying this, Yeshiruo had already noticed that there was no one on Li Pan'er's bed. Zhou Yuqing came over and told her, "Pan'er was just called away by the teacher." "Where have you gone?" "It should be outside." "Okay, thank you." Yeji turned around and continued walking in the other direction of the corridor. Yin Simiao followed behind and just turned on her phone when she saw Yeshiruo was about to leave again. She quickly put her phone away and said, "Yeshiruo, walk slowly." Zhou Yuqing, Zhao Fang, and others were holding onto the door, watching as her back gradually became blurry in their field of vision. Everyone was left exclaiming, "Oh my god, it turns out that Li Pana really knows Yezhiruo." Zhao Fang raised a question, "But you saw that Yezhiruo didn't have a smile on her face when she came just now, and she didn't look happy. Could it be that Li Pana really offended her?" Zhou Yuqing suggested, "How about we go and have a look?" Zhou Yuqing glanced back, and the person behind him shook his head, "I'm not going." Zhao Fang hesitated for a while, then stood up first and said firmly, "I'll go." "I'll go too." Zhou Yuqing and Zhao Fang came together because they were full of curiosity about this instrument. Li Panner's dormitory is the first one after going upstairs, and Li Panner is currently being trained at the other end of this floor. When your family couldn't afford to study, the principal gave you half the tuition because you were older. We didn't ask you to make any huge contribution to the school, but we didn't expect that you would care about such a small thing. The teacher felt that the phone call had embarrassed her, and the culprit was Li Panner. He even pointed at Li Panner's forehead and asked, "You only care about personal interests and ignore the collective honor. Where have you heard the principles of life that the teacher taught you before?" At the end of the question, another voice suddenly sounded from behind, "As a teacher, is this the attitude you use to teach your students?" Yezhiruo appeared in front of them unexpectedly. Feeling a sudden strong momentum, the teacher couldn't help but be startled. "You, who are you?" "Hello, teacher, I am Yezhiruo, a second-grade student at Benage College." "Yezhiruo." The teacher had already recognized her identity, and his expression changed instantly, as if the person who had been angry just now was not him. The teacher asked in a gentle tone, "Student Ye, what's the matter with you coming so late?" The corners of Yezhiruo's mouth were raised, and the smile was deep, but not real. She said to the teacher, "The student union has a precise division of labor for each of us. I want to ask Li Panner to record a video of her reflections after winning the prize." Unexpectedly, our teacher in the management office misunderstood, and actually I thought I was asking the teacher to hand things over to my classmates, and I'm here to explain this misunderstanding. "Oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, I just said that this happened out of nowhere. It turned out that I wanted to ask Panner to record a video. Then can I borrow classmate Li Panner's time?" "Sure. This sister is very awesome." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1375. Chapter 1375. You can call me sister. Watching the teacher leave, Yezhiruo stretched out his hand and pulled Li Panner to his side. "How are you?" I. "Don't be anxious, you can tell me slowly what you want to say." "I, thank you, night." Li Panner stuttered when she became nervous. The emotion just now combined with Yezhiruoshi's nervous mood caused the thoughts in her head to become chaotic. "Yeah, why are you so cute? If you really don't know what to call me, you can call me sister yet." Yezhiruo accepted a cheap sister with just a few words. Yin Semiao, who was standing aside and scrolling through Weibo, couldn't help but raise his head, looked at the two of them and shook his head. She was shocked. "Okay. When did Yezhiruo become so gentle to a stranger? Back to my sister?" In the past, when someone called her sister, she would smile and tell you, "You can call me by my name." But what is the situation now? Does Yezhiruo want to recognize the rhythm of a younger sister? What's going on? Yin Semiao quickly opened QQ and reported to Yeching Feng, "This is terrible. Yezhiruo actually wants to recognize his sister." Li Panner's face turned red. Thank you sister Ye. Do you want to record a video?" I can cooperate." "Huh? Do you really believe it?" "I was just trying to save you." "Huh?" Li Panner didn't expect the real reason to be like this. The confused look also made Yezhiruo laugh, but she felt a little distressed when she looked at Lee Painter's clear eyes. When she came over just now, she heard the teacher scolding her. At that time, she asked the teacher if that sentence was a retort. At that time, she couldn't hold it back. But just after she finished that question, she thought, Lee Panner will still be studying in school in the future. Even if she can stand up for Lee Panner now, Lee Panner will definitely be miserable when she is not there. You have to be strong to do this kind of thing. Hey, how could you be bullied so miserably? It's obviously not your fault, but you don't know how to fight back even after being punished. You can't fight back. Lee Painter lowered his head and muttered softly. The sharp-eared Yasuhiro really heard her words and was a little puzzled. Yasuhiro told her seriously, you have to know that in this world, blind submission will only make people step on your head and bully you wantonly. If you don't want to live a life of humiliation, you have to do it yourself. Learn to be strong. Lee Panner silently remembered these words in her heart. Because he lied, the teacher returned all the confiscated prizes to Lee Panner. Probably to embolden Lee Painter, Yasuhiro deliberately stayed in the dormitory to teach in person. People who have used electronic devices for a long time are familiar with some conventional buttons, but Lee Painter really doesn't understand them at all. However, when Yasuhiro Zazi taught her how to use it, he found that Lee Painter's learning ability was very good, and she could remember almost everything he taught her once. You are very smart. Yasuhiro's unstinting praise made Lee Panner feel happy from the bottom of her heart. Zhou Yuking, Zhao Fang, and others sat together and whispered. They saw Yasuhiro protecting Lee Panner before, and now they even saw how kind Yasuhiro was to Lee Panner. They were so envious. Yet Xingfeng saw the message from Yin Simiao when she was about to fall asleep. There is a QQ account called No Parent. This account only paid special attention to Yasuhiro and Nangang Yu. There was no special reminder when Yin Simiao's message was sent, and it was a little late when he found out. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1376. Chapter 1376. Ye Qingfeng also targets Lee Painter. Due to the school anniversary, all students in the school will have a half-day holiday on the morning after the school anniversary. Most people are sleeping in at home or in the dormitory, but forced activists like Yasuhiro and Ye Qingfeng have to get up early. Ye Qingfeng was called to the office by the principal early in the morning and praised him. He was praised for his extraordinary abilities and his excellent performance in front of reporters after finishing his work. He was also praised for making outstanding contributions to Egger College. Even though Ye Qingfeng is still a minor, he has his own way of dealing with these adults. It's just that the current principal of Egg College is so boring that he can talk for an hour in stand-up comedy. Ye Qingfeng roughly calculated the time and ended the conversation with a reasonable reason when it was exactly 60 minutes. When he left the principal's office, the principal personally walked to his door. The main thing is to explicitly hint Ye Qingfeng to participate in more competitions and always seek benefits for Egger Academy. After Ye Qingfeng came out, he went to the playground with a purpose. In half an hour it will be time to pick up 2 primary schools and leave. Last night, Yasuhiro asked Ye Qingfeng to do something. Brother, help me buy a set of learning supplies and give them to students in 2 primary schools. That cart full of learning supplies is the item that will be distributed soon. Originally, Ye Qingfeng had asked someone to take care of this matter and didn't plan to come in person, but the message Yin Simiao sent him yesterday aroused his curiosity. He would like to know which of these little brats has the ability to make Yasuhiro fall in love with him. Ye Qingfeng found a big tree as the background and stood there with his hands crossed. Passers-by could not help but take a few more glances. People from the elementary school came out of the dormitory one after another, all carrying bags. They lined up in the waiting area waiting for the school bus to pick up and drop off. The thin Li Panner walked at the end of the girls' team, and Du Hong was beside him to help her carry something. Ye Qingfeng's eyes were fixed on Li Panner. When Li Panner walked past him, an indescribable feeling arose in his heart. His eyes swept across Li Panner's profile, and within those few seconds, he felt as if Yezhiruo's profile was flashing before his eyes. Ye Qingfeng put away his cell phone and sent a voice message. The people he arranged have already started negotiating with the teachers of the two primary schools. Everyone was very happy when they heard that they could receive a complete set of learning tools. The teachers at Egger School are really good. Children in primary school thought at first that the things were given by the principal. But when the person who sent the gift heard the sentence, he couldn't help but declare, "This is not a gift from the teacher, but from our eldest young master and eldest lady." Who are the young master and the young lady? My eldest young master's name is Ye Qingfeng, and my eldest daughter's name is Yezhiruo. They are famous figures in the school, you must have heard of them. Wow! These two names have a higher appearance rate than the principal. Ye Qingfeng's ears trembled and she shook her head helplessly. How could he have forgotten that his uncle, the housekeeper, is careful and loyal in his work, and his biggest hobby is to publicize his and his sister's great achievements, and he will not allow others to take advantage of the two brothers and sisters. Du Hong and Li Panner also got their things, but Li Panner found that his school bag was so bulging that it could no longer fit in the bag. Du Hong opened the big white bag in his hand and said, "Panner, put your things in here. This big white bag contains the clothes Yin Semiao sent last night." Li Panner wanted to take out her clothes first in order to stuff away her school supplies. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1377. Chapter 1377. Everyone envies her. The clothes inside are of the same color. Because Li Panner is relatively thin, Yezhiruo specially picked some short coats. Li Panner caught Ye Qingfeng's attention as soon as she took it out. Yezhiruo's clothes, Ye Qingfeng is certainly impressed. He remembered that Yezhiruo had just bought the coat and had not worn it yet, and now it was in Li Panner's hands. It seems that Yin Semiao told him yesterday that Yezhiruo is very special to Li Panner, but now it seems that he is not ordinary special. Yezhiruo seems to be quite easygoing, but she is very possessive of her belongings. These things can be given to a strange girl at will. What is the charm of this girl? Ye Qingfeng vaguely remembered that Yezhiruo had done such a thing a long time ago. At that time, it seems that he also gave all his extra clothes to a little girl, but too much time passed and they were too young at the time to remember who that person was. Li Panner took out one piece of clothing, and then another. When she was about to put the study supplies in, Zhou Yuqing next to her saw the clothes she was holding in her hand. Zhou Yuqing asked curiously, "Hey? Whose clothes do you have in your hand, Panner?" "Someone gave it to me. Since those people didn't trust her yesterday, she didn't even use the name Yezhiruo." But Zhou Yuqing reacted smartly at this time, "Is this also given to you by Yezhiruo?" "Uh-huh." Zhou Yuqing took the initiative to mention Yezhiruo, as if admitting a certain identity. Zhou Yuqing couldn't help but reach out and touch the material of the clothes, and sighed, "This clothes is so comfortable to touch, and it is also very warm inside." "Yes, sister, yes, stuff is naturally very good. I really envy you. We came here together, but you are lucky. If you get involved with Yezhiruo in the future, we will have to leave. Do you think it's a pity? Now we are leaving, and we will never see each other again. I'm actually very reluctant to part with you." "That's right, after all, you won't have these good things when you get home." "That's not what I meant. I think Sister Ye is very good to me, so I don't want to let her go." Yezhiruo gave her a very close feeling, so she really didn't want to let her go. "Hey, you said that Yezhiruo has been so good to you, why don't you come to see you off if you want to leave now?" Li Panner shook his head. She doesn't know and doesn't mind. Yeshiruo has helped her enough, so you can't be too greedy. Li Painter worked hard to stuff everything into the big white bag. Zhao Fang suddenly came over and patted Li Painter on the shoulder. Hey, that person over there seems to have been looking at you. Yet Xing Feng showed his profile, and at first glance he couldn't identify who it was. When Zhao Fang said this, several people looked at him curiously. Before Ye Qingfeng wanted to come forward, he took a few steps back. At this time, Du Heng was surprised to find someone coming in front of him. Panur, look who that is. Who is that? Isn't it the same Yeshiruo that I was talking about just now? Today, Yeshiruo has changed her outfit again. She wears a high-collar white sweater, a long gray windbreaker, and a pair of black boots, which make her taller and straighter. With her long hair tied into a high ponytail, Yeshiruo's dress style today is very cool. The outfit is completely different from yesterday, which is almost unbearable. As soon as Yeshiruo came over, everyone tacitly made way for them. After what happened last night, who didn't know that he was special to Li Panur? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1378. Chapter 1378. Her eyes are very similar to yours. Yeshiruo is indeed here for Li Panur. She handed a note to Li Panur. If we meet again by chance, you can come find me. The note contained her home address and contact information. Li Pan was the first person to receive such favorable treatment from Yeshiruo when he was a child. When Li Painter heard the sentence, his heart felt so weak that his eyes seemed to become wet all of a sudden. No one has ever been so kind to her. Since childhood, only her grandma has been the best to her. The relationship between the two is incomparable. For a person who has just known each other for less than a day, Yeshiruo is particularly good to her. She didn't understand, and became even more confused. Sister Ye, why are you so nice to me? Do you want to listen to the truth? Huh, is there still a lie? I'm teasing you, I'm treating you well, maybe I think we are destined. Yeshiruo looks great when she smiles sincerely. Zhao Fang and Zhou Yuqing stood watching, feeling a little jealous in their hearts. But they are only 11 or 12-year-old children. They are just jealous, and they don't have any bad intentions. Yeshiruo and Li Panur stood very close to each other. Due to the height difference, Yeshiruo had to lower his head slightly when talking to Li Panur. Zhao Fang and Zhou Yuqing took a closer look at the side. Zhou Yuqing suddenly said, I found that Panur and Yeshiruo look a bit similar. Like, Zhao Fang shook her head, are you stupid? There is no resemblance between the two of them. They are so different, okay. Let alone the difference in height and temperament, it is also very obvious just by looking at the appearance. Yeshiruo has an excellent figure, her face is rosy and shiny like white jade, and her skin is fair and translucent. At first glance, she looks like a pampered girl from a wealthy family. In comparison, Li Panur's body is thin and there is no vitality in his face. Because I have been exposed to the sun all year round in the countryside, my skin is a little yellowish and a little black, and my skin is even rougher. Looking at them at this glance, who said they didn't look like that? Zhou Yuqing sighed, the looks are definitely incomparable, I mean the eyes are a bit similar. You can't say that you care about her so much because of her eyes like Yeshiruo, right? Who knows, anyway, I don't have such good luck. After saying a few goodbyes, the bus taking them back had already entered the school gate. The last scene that stayed in Li Panur's eyes and heart was Yeshiruo smiling and waving to her. After the primary school students got on the bus, Ye Qingfeng also walked out from behind the big tree. Ruruo. Why? Yeshiruo had long known that Ye Qingfeng was standing there, and was not surprised at all by his appearance. Ye Qingfeng asked, why? Yeshiruo shook his head and replied, I don't know. Although he didn't explain clearly what the question was, Yeshiruo could understand it in his heart. However, she couldn't give an accurate answer. Ye Qingfeng looked towards the school bus. Li Painter was still sitting by the window, with his hands on the glass, looking at Yezhiruo. Ye Qingfeng vaguely saw Li Painter in the car, and he suddenly turned his head to avoid that sight. Every time he saw Li Painter, he had a strange feeling in his heart. He thought, that girl is very strange. Yezhiruo was puzzled. Brother, what do you mean by this? I'm just a child, what's weird about it? Yezhiruo didn't know that Li Painter was actually the same age as them, so she only thought that Li Painter was an 11 or 12-year-old child in 6th grade. Ye Qingfeng suddenly stretched out his hand, touched the corners of her eyes with his fingers, and said, her eyes are very similar to yours. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1379. Chapter 1379 The Abominable Father. Li Painter and others were greatly praised when they returned to school, and the school even held a welcome party for them. The learning tools obtained by their dance team belong to themselves, but they are still thinking about the learning machine in Li Painter's hand. The teacher no longer forced her to hand it in. Li Painter sat down with her learning machine in her arms. After the teacher finished telling her thoughts about going to Egger Academy, she handed over the learning machine. Teachers and classmates are full of praise for her. Li Painter had an unreal smile on her face, and kept her head down after that. She is already lucky enough and cannot expect too much. Since I have to hide it after taking it back, I might as well put it in school to benefit other students, so as not to be sold by my father for money. After school in the afternoon, Li Painter returned home carrying a school bag and a big bag. When walking at the door, she first put the things in her big pocket in the windmill outside the door, still carrying the worn school bag. She pretended to inadvertently go to both doors and looked at them. After confirming that no one was there, she took the big bag and hid it under the bed. There is no way, her room is very small, there is only a bed and a table, and things are stacked next to the cabinet, so there is no room for anything. Li Painter breathed a sigh of relief after putting everything away. She wants to go to her grandma. Grandma Li also lives in this village, but she does not live with them. Grandma Li lived with Li Painter's grandfather when she was young. Later, Grandpa Li left, and Grandma Li lived alone in that tiled house, a short distance away from their home. Li Painter was about to close the door when a rough voice came from behind. Li Painter. Scared. Li Painter was caught off guard and startled. She turned around and saw Li's father approaching with great momentum. Li Painter couldn't help but take a few steps back, because Li's father's current appearance made her feel scared. Painter, what good things did you get in the city this time? No, it's nothing. Li Painter, you are incredible now, everyone is praising you for being sensible. Dad, what's wrong? What's wrong, are you still embarrassed to ask me? Father Li approached step by step, raised his hand and slapped Li Painter. Li Painter turned her head subconsciously, just in time to avoid the slap. This move angered Father Li even more. Father Li stepped forward, grabbed her arm, pulled her over, and slapped her on the back. It's about the size of a broken palm. A slap from an adult man on a child's body hurts a lot. Li Painter's eyes were so painful that her eyes popped out. Father Li finally told the reason for his anger: you got a learning machine in the city, and you actually handed over such a good thing to the school? Who taught you to do that? I gave birth to you and raised you, why don't you think about your family? Think. Faced with the questioning, Li Painter couldn't say anything to refute. Putting his palms on his cheeks, he was trembling with fear. Her submissive look is the best way for Father Li to vent his anger. Father Li almost raised his hand and slapped him again, but suddenly thought of something and stopped in time. He kicked Lee Panner and ordered, "Go and get that learning machine back from the labor force." Lee Panner shook his head. "Dad, the learning machine belongs to the school and cannot be taken back." Father Lee directly carried her thin little body out and threatened, "I don't want to hear these nonsense from you. If you can't take it out, get out and don't ever enter my house again." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lou Kixey. Chapter 1380. Chapter 1380. She is your biological daughter. Father Lee dragged Lee Panner out. At this time, Lee's mother came back with a basket on her back. Lee Panner felt there was still some hope when she saw her mother, so she ran to her side. Lee's mother didn't know what happened yet, but when she saw Lee's father beating Lee Panner again, she still protected her a little. "What's going on? She just came back and you lost your temper again. Ask yourself what she did. I heard someone said that she got some kind of learning machine in the city. She is a very rich treasure. If she gets it back, she can definitely exchange it for a lot of money. But she is good. She handed over the good stuff without saying anything. Give it to the school. This girl is deliberately cutting off my money." Lee's father explained Lee Panner's crimes in a snap. When Mother Lee heard this, she didn't look very good. Their family is poor, so they must hide good things when they see them, and try every means to make money. They didn't expect that Lee Panner would do such a thing without their knowledge. "Panner, is everything your father said true?" Lee's mother turned around and asked, and Lee Panner knew that he was in danger. She kept shaking her head. "No, Mom, that learning machine originally belonged to the school. It was just taken in my name. It's not my thing. Whatever is taken in your name is yours. No one asked you for it, you handed it in yourself." At that time, Lee Panner's actions made people at the school very happy. Those people brought this incident up to praise her selflessness, but they did not expect that it would become a fatal tool for Lee Panner. "Mom, Panner knows that she was wrong." Lee Panner hugged her mother and prayed, hoping that she could continue to speak for him. But Lee's mother made the same choice as Lee's father and directly ordered, "Go and get it back." Lee Panner could only shake his head. "How can you get back what you gave away?" But Lee's father and mother, who are obsessed with money, don't care about Lee Panner's thoughts. They feel that since Lee Panner gave the thing away, they should get it back themselves. Lee Panner shook his head to express his refusal, and Lee's father picked up the broom next to him and was about to hit him. "Stop!" The breathless voice stopped his violent behavior in time. The gray-haired old man slowly walked up the steps. Grandma Lee appeared and was somewhat of a deterrent to Father Lee. When Grandma Lee saw how pitiful Lee Panner was being bullied, she reached out her hand to wipe away her tears, pointed at Lee's father's nose and scolded, "Panner is your biological daughter, why are you so cruel to her?" Father Lee snorted coldly, "My daughter didn't help me, but turned to those people outside. I should teach her a lesson. Let her remember." Grandma Lee pulled Lee Panner into her arms and protected her with both hands. "You traitor! If you want to beat me to death first. Panner is young and can't stand the beatings and scoldings of your cruel parents." Seeing Grandma Lee protecting Lee Panner so firmly, Father Lee gradually put down the broom in his hand. Hearing Grandma Lee gasp for breath as she spoke, Father Lee was afraid that she would not be able to turn around in one breath, so his tone became much gentler. Okay, I don't care now." Lee's father is not a good person, but facing his biological mother who has been kind to him since childhood, Lee's father will still give him some face. Father Lee felt that since his biological mother gave birth to him and raised him, he could give in. But Lee Panner was born as if he was here to collect debts. He was frail and sick, and his elbows were bent outward. If his wife hadn't been able to conceive a second child for so many years, he would have lost Lee Panner long ago. End of this chapter.